living, just without being vigilant. All right. So, um, in the 2 months that we haven't had a broadcast, it's amazing how much has happened. Um, and I'm going to try to give a summary of these things, all the things that have happened because so much has happened. The world has definitely got a lot crazier, um, and things. Um, I don't know how many people it is now that has been fired under Trump or resigned or whatever term they want to use. But that we definitely know, we can say for sure has happened is that there has been some more um, so-called firings within that 2 month period of people that have left the White House. You have a everyday campaign by the mainstream media, especially CNN, to ridicule and cause all type of tensions and divisions and play on your emotions and frustrations. This campaign against Donald Trump to make him the fall guy, right? This is their plan. This has been their plan. They've been grooming Trump for a long time, the same way they groomed Obama. And we must understand that this particular system, nothing happens by chance, right? These things are happening to their design. When I say they, I'm talking about the powers that Paul identified in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, the principalities, the rulers of darkness, of wicked spiritual wickedness in high places that control this world and control those who rule over us. Donald Trump is nothing more than a puppet. He is the fall guy for this system. He will be the man that they use to bring this system down. And you look just how fast things have spiraled out of control under his administration, and even before he was getting the presidential victory in November of 2016. Just his running for the Republican, in the Republican primaries, just him running for that nomination, things were very, very bizarre. You look at the years leading up to all of that, the decades. Donald Trump has always been a public figure, always been in the mainstream. Whether it's Larry King or Oprah Winfrey, he's on these particular talk shows talking and being asked these questions about running for president. This is 20, 30 years ago. All these things. So there is no election. There is no Republican, there is no Democrat. These are illusions. They've given us the illusion of choice to make us think that we have a choice, right? Coke and Pepsi, they're the same. There is no choice, right? They're both going to lead you to the same death if you continue to follow after them. So it didn't matter if it was Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. You're still going to get the same result at the very end of it all. But who's going to be the better actor and better character they've created, right? So Donald Trump is a character. They've created this guy to be a flashy guy, flamboyant, arrogant, a racist, a misogynist, all these things he's created for him. He's in pro wrestling. He's in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. If anybody believes wrestling is real, let's look at this political arena and this political world the same. It's nothing more than pro wrestling. There's really not really too much in this world that's real, right? Everything pretty much in this false construct that we live is fake, artificial. Only thing real we have is this word, these scriptures, right? But definitely they're using Donald Trump as the guy to step on everybody's toes. And I was sitting up thinking, I'm like, at this point, what allies point does America have? Donald Trump has pretty much stepped on every single toe of those who are were considered American allies to those who weren't allies, they only infuriated them more. And I'm not saying that Donald Trump is the guy doing this. He has no power. He's just a puppet. But just them using him as that variable to bring forth this this illusion that Donald Trump is the one to blame. And I seen a video. It was on Russian Today. They had this video, this thing. They basically formulate our reality. They bring forth this reality to us, and their psychological sorceries and psychological operations. But this particular this news piece I've seen, they were talking about people and how stressed out people were because of Donald Trump. How people had heart attacks and strokes once he won the office, and ever since then you have more and more people just losing their minds because of this guy and everything that they are saying that he is and is doing. And they were calling it Trump stress disorder, TSD, right? So I've seen that, and I'm like, man, this thing is, they have definitely written a good script for this particular circus with this guy and his shenanigans. Whenever him and Hillary were going at it, and his shenanigans, they still continue. I think it was Hillary who was in a recent book where she said that in her book that she was always being followed around stage by this guy, and it was really creepy. And just to add more just to that whole Donald Trump aura of this strange character that he is, and to make play on women's emotions, because of course Hillary's going to cater more to the feminine energy, so her followers are going to be the women. So that just makes more women angry at Donald Trump. He recently said that we're not going to have transgenders in the military. So now you have the transgenders up in arms when it has been rumored that Donald Trump could very well be a transgender himself. But we know that Donald Trump has been in videos with Rudy Giuliani dressed up in drag. So these guys, he's not against transgenders at all. But look at what this does whenever these things happen, is that it infuriates a group, and now you can get sympathy for these groups. You can get sympathy for the transgenders and the homosexuals and these type of things. You had this recent event in Charlottesville, right? And so the media blew that whole thing up, and he didn't say this or he said that, and he's a racist, and he didn't condemn them directly, and so you had to really look at the media. Is the media really actually giving you news, or is the media actually pushing things onto your emotions? Is the media actually trying to get you feeling a certain type of way and get you frustrated and angry, sad or fearful? Right? That's exactly what all of this brings about. So no sooner than they have the first black president, than you follow it with this guy who they're saying, he has a long history of racism and all of this stuff, and they're continuing to pull the strings of the masses with Donald Trump, and so for us, we must recognize this and not get caught up in the soap opera and the circus of it all, because that's exactly what they want you to do, is get caught up in it and thinking that it's real, and it's not. Obama, Hillary Clinton, John McCain, all these people are Freemasons, and they all have no problem with each other at all. They all are under Satan's agenda, right? Satan's kingdom is not divided. All right. So these people are not divided at all, but they want you to think they're divided. Their whole thing is division. They want to divide people in any place they can cause division at, to where now they're even causing division within the Democratic and Republican parties, right? Because if everybody's divided, then that's a people that can easily be conquered, right? Any kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. So he's the one to come in and cause all this division and all of this anger. And when things fall and collapse, then you will not question why. because this guy came in who has no presidential, he has no political experience and no military experience. First president ever. Either you were a president that had one or the other or both. He's the first guy, right? So they continuously point these things out to continually as an incompetent buffoon, somebody who is totally incompetent. He has no idea what he's doing. He's inexperienced, right? And so now he's gone out. He's gone against the world. He's stepping on toes in Europe. We talked about the Paris Climate Accords, how he went against that and had Europe kind of start to get angry at him. Recently, in the past time since we've done a broadcast, he has, well, not necessarily him, but the American government has passed new sanctions on Russia, Iran, and North Korea. All right, and notice, because it was the Congress, the U.S. Congress, that passed this vote almost unanimously. And he was saying it was a very bad deal, and he didn't want to sign it, but he really had no choice, so he signed it, as if that makes any sense. Just to cause more division, to say, okay, all my supporters, I didn't want this thing, the American government wanted it. So now you have that division there. They keep these constant divisions within the government, Republican versus Democrat, president versus Congress, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But look at what this does. Now you have Russia saying that they will not stand back for long on these sanctions, that there's only so much you can take before you have to respond in some type of way. And not that Russia isn't in on this too. Not that Vladimir Putin isn't part of that upper elite circle as well. But look at what this does to the world in their narrative, right? Because now you have Russia, Iran, North Korea, these sanctions, those are acts of war. We know that Russia and Iran have a war agreement together. So if Russia goes to war, Iran is automatically pulled into the war. That's why Russia is there, to pull Iran into this war. Also, you have Europe angry at America because of these sanctions. These sanctions will actually block Europe from doing business with Russia, with all type of natural resources like gas and oil and these type of things. So that actually hurts Russia's economy in the process. So now you're having this continued building up of hatred and dissension and distrust that's being played within this script. Again, this is a script with Europe towards America, which fits perfectly in with Revelation 17 when the scripture says the 10 horns shall hate the whore and burn her with fire. You have the sanctions on Iran, which also hurt Europe because of the business that Iran does with Europe, right? I've seen a recent Press TV news piece where the prime minister of Iran was saying that Iran could easily form a global front against America. Basically, what they were saying is they could basically be the leader in an effort to take America down and get the whole world to gather behind them to go against America, which fits scripture to a T. When you read Isaiah 13, Jeremiah 50, and chapters 50 and 51, where it talks about the Mede and the array of nations that will join in league with the Medes to take down Babylon, right? And you have Trump building this wall around America to further isolate America. So America basically will be all by itself, sitting on an island. That's basically what America is, one big island. And there'll be no getting in and there'll be no getting out. And as this racial tensions they continue to promote this racial tension in America with these whatever it be, statues coming down, or they start doing lynchings, or just whatever racial thing that they bring in. Obama pops back up, and him and Trump, going at it here and there. Whatever, all the things that they're doing, America will have so much turmoil and so much going on within itself that it will not be able to defend itself, right? When you have the natural disasters and the plagues that Revelation 18 speaks about that will hit Babylon in one day, those plagues will come in one day. America will be too busy trying to sustain itself within and survive, and will be weak to the point to where now you can't defend yourself. The nations will gather around to destroy her. You had another recent situation with, of course, the North Korea thing. They continue to pump that so they can, put the hooks into Gog and Magog and pull them into this war, which is the Japhetic peoples. Iran is Japhetic as well, but you have South Korea come out and say there will be no war on the Korean Peninsula. Period. South Korea is supposed to be an ally of America. So South Korea is now going against America because they're like, listen, you're not going to start a war in our front yard. This won't affect you. This will affect our people, not you. So you're not going to come over here. Is basically what they're saying, right? So and then you have sanctions that America has looked to place on Venezuela. Right, Venezuela has condemned America and said what they've said about America, that America is a colonial imperialist power, and that they will stand up against that power. Because we know, even going back to Hugo Chavez, America has tried to get into Venezuela and take control of it. So a lot of what you see going on in Venezuela right now is because of America. America sends their agents in and causes all type of division and chaos in these opposition groups, and they fund them very well, and they go in and they look to destabilize the country. Just look at Syria, right? With Assad. Look at Iraq with Saddam Hussein. Look at Libya. America funds these groups to go in to cause, a situation. America will say that these people are being, inhumanely treated. That these are, crimes against humanity. And then, like Donald Trump said, hey, war is a option against Venezuela. That is an option. That America will use military force against Venezuela for what's going on there if they see fit. Right? What else? You had the Dow Jones reached its highest mark ever of 22,000 points. I'm not really into the stock market like that, so I can't really speak about expound on it more than that. It's just it's the highest point in the stocks, and basically what it does, it makes you think that that things must be on the up and up and going good if it hit a record, right? But that doesn't portray the actual reality. When you get down to the ground and you look at the fact that people don't have jobs, that people are struggling to take care of their families, right? So it's again more false illusion, and also when something falls, right, the bigger it is, the higher up it is, the harder the fall. So they're going to prop this thing up and push it up as high up as they can, so when it falls, it collapses. It's as big as possible, right? So that's a reason for that. Another big, really, really big thing that most of y'all are probably aware of out there, but you have a company called Three Square Market, who recently became the first American company to microchip its employees with RFID chips. Yes, you heard that right. For those who did not know, Three Square Market, a Wisconsin company, became the first company to microchip its employees with RFID frequency chips. And these employees can now buy at their jobs by just waving their wrist, waving their hand, these chips going in their, I believe it's the right hand, and they're being able to pay for things in their jobs. And and this was voluntary, right? And when you see that happen, and prophecy, because prophecy gives us really deep wisdom when it comes to where we're at in things. When you read Revelation 13, it talks about the beast that cometh from the earth. We know that beast is talking about is America. And whenever you see America now doing these things, you know that it's not too long before it will be made mandatory. Um, and and how close we really are. And again, these are the reason why you have things like the wall going up and all of this, because they're going to look to have America on lockdown and have people tracked and totally um, total surveillance and controlled. Now, again, when we see these things, there's no reason for us to get scared. No reason for us to be fearful. But it should only increase our faith so many ways for us to know that these scriptures are 100% true when it says what it says, um, and that how much more focused and diligent we should be when it comes to our salvation and not being distracted in these times. Because when it happens, when things go down, a lot of people just not going to be ready. But a lot of people that are in the know are going to be caught off guard like a thief in the night, because they're going to be like, I didn't have enough time. Right? So the Most High has given us all this time, because a lot of us have known these prophecies for a long time. I mean, I remember going back to the 90s, you know, as a child, and being taught these things as a child that they were going to happen then in the 90s. So, a lot of people have had years, even decades, for preparation spiritually to get ready for this and to be ready as much as they can for when it happens. You've done your due diligence. You've done as much as you can in preparation to survive and escape the beast, the jaws of the beast. So we will not be left without any excuse with all this time we've been given. But those are some of the things, the major things that have happened. I know there's a lot more that have happened in the past 2 months. It's so much to keep up with, and there's only so much that we can talk about within this platform when it comes to time. So let's go ahead and go into what articles that we have, because I wanted to show just some of the beast tech. Speaking of this mark of the beast, because this technology every day, I mean, you can just one day, the next, tomorrow, just walk to the store and just see the technology has changed overnight, and you're like, wow, like this they're bringing to you. It's like living in a science fiction movie. Like just if you grew up in a time where these things, weren't like what they are now with this technology, you would think that this is like this would have took 200-300 years for them to come up with this stuff and to have it here. But what they're really using are these smartphones. That is one of the biggest things that they have used, because it's basically a handheld computer, and the mark of the beast will be a computer within inside your body, right? So they need you to hold the computer and get it as small as possible in the palm of your hand, to where eventually it's in your hand so much holding it. Why not just have it embedded within? And that way you don't have to worry about holding it anymore. You don't have to worry about losing your phone. All the information, somebody else could have access to that information, right? Well, let's take a look at this first article here. This comes off of activistpost.com. And this article is titled Mobile Biometric Driver's Licenses Coming to a State Near You. This is August 24th, 2017, right? It says here, Morpho Trust is trying to convince motorists that mobile biometric driver's licenses are a good thing. 2 years ago, MT convinced the Iowa Department of Transportation to pilot their mobile driver's license program. MT wants you to download an image of your driver's license to your smartphone and use that instead of a physical license. A KTVQ video revealed how the MT app uses facial recognition to verify an individual's identity. Right, so this is Beast Tech. Put your driver's license in your smartphone, That way you don't have to worry about carrying it around. You can stop by the police. They can come. They can come by. They can scan your phone. Right. Got facial recognition. All these things. It says here, and you see how everything is going digital. Like they want to be able to get rid of the actual physical document, get rid of physical paper, physical currency, and go digital. And they will use convenience as the main reason. Convenience and security is the main reasons that they will push, to get you to accept this. It says using a mobile biometric driver's license poses numerous privacy concerns. MT and the DOT claim motorists can hit a button that will allow the police to see only your license information. But what if you forget to hit the button? Would the police officer have access to all of your personal information? The reasons to never use MDLs are too numerous to mention here. But an article in USA Today does a good job of addressing some of my privacy concerns. It says here, what if drivers wish to use the phone to record their interactions with the police officer? What if they want to make a call or send a text during the traffic stop, perhaps to a lawyer? What if the phone has a lock mechanism that would lock officers out before they are able to scan the license barcode? And what of the pitfalls inherent in storing critical data on an electronic device? What if the phone's battery is dead or dies in the midst of a traffic stop? What if the screen is cracked in a way that makes the barcode unreadable? Right? So when I hear these type of questions asked, I can hear the answer and what would follow. Something that would, in one-stop shop, that would take care of all these problems. If you just had this chip and you just put it in your body, you wouldn't have to worry about none of those things. Right? You don't have to worry about any of that. It says here, it says Morpho Trust uses government employees to convince public to switch to MDLs. So that's what they're doing. They're using, these jobs are using their employees as guinea pigs. 3 Square Market with the RFID chip, getting their employees to buy into it. Of course, they start with a tech company, because if you're a techie, right, and you're just, technology is your guide, you're going to be all for putting an RFID inside of you. Like, how cool. Like, and to be the first in this new, pioneering of the future of technology. So now Morpho Trust is using its employees as the guinea pigs to promote this technology and to further their agenda. Right, it says here, it appears the National Institute of Standards and Technology, an organization that is closely affiliated with DHS, will stop at nothing to convince the public to switch to MDLs. In Iowa, MT and DHS have been using 100 DOT employees to convince the public to accept MDLs. Because if you can convince the employees, you can now use them to now convince the masses. They can come out and show people like, look, it's not that bad. They can start showing you how cool it is, how convenient it is. And you start, thinking to yourself, hey, it's not that bad. This is how they get you. They get you to open up, let down those barriers of defense and trust us. It says here, 2 days ago, Morpho Trust claimed that a new study they conducted shows a majority of Americans want MDLs. And then they come out with their fake studies, their fake polls to make you think that, oh yeah, majority of people want this. That's the other psychological mind control with their sorcery and what they do. They put these fake polls out to get you, because if they can get you to think it, remember the first place the battle is in the mind. They can get your mind, they got your soul. It says here, the survey polled nearly 4,000 consumers ranging in age, gender, region, and income across the U.S. To qualify for the study, participants needed to own a smartphone and have a valid driver's license or state identification card. Interestingly, the study is not available to the public. Interestingly. Below is a list of the only findings Morpho Trust published. 80% of respondents are interested in a mobile driver's license app. 70% of respondents are interested in using their mobile phone to renew their driver's license. 64% of millennials express the highest concept acceptance and would recommend it to a friend. So, if the study is not available to the public, how do we know that the study even happened? They could just come up with these numbers and say, oh, here's the numbers from the study, right? And that's another part of their sorcery because they know how people don't ask questions. Critical thinking is gone. Majority of people don't critically think, right? They think, oh, these people have to be for our best interest. Like they would never look to do any harm to us or do something in a negative way. So trusting with the information that they call a survey. It says here, when a poll asks people if they would be interested in a driver's license app, of course, the majority of people will say that the majority would say no. Would you hand over your unlocked phone to a stranger and have them get in the car while you wait for them to give you the phone back? Can you be sure they will only make a phone call and not scroll through your personal information? When a company that manufactures 80% of the country's driver's licenses and IDs publishes a study promoting MDLs, we should all be concerned, right? Like, how can you have the people that actually make the driver's license be the one that does the study? Like, you should get an independent company, organization to do this study. Not that you would be able to trust them, but at least it's not the people that's making it. Okay, brothers and sisters, I'm back. Hope that you can hear me. Just to give a disclaimer, um, may get disconnected in this broadcast, and if that happens, just know that that there's nothing wrong on your end. No need for you to hang up and call back. So just want to let everybody know that may happen a few times. Hopefully not, but that was the first time here. So let's pick back up where we left off. Let's see here. It says a 2015 article in the State Scoop shows how MT received $1.47 million from DHS. I mean, the NIST to implement electronic IDs in North Carolina and Georgia. Also in 2015, Senator Jeff Dowell authored a bill that would require the Arizona Department of Transportation to create electronic driver's licenses. 7 more states, Alabama, Kentucky, Montana, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, and Utah, have begun using MTs, IDs, and driver's licenses. It appears that DHS is working with MT to fingerprint and facially recognize everyone in the U.S. Right? So that should tell you something. Anytime you have the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, working in any type of facet or whatever, you should definitely be paying close attention. So you see the DHS working with, comes to driver's licenses. They want to fingerprint and facially recognize everyone in the U.S., right? Those are the first steps that they're doing in gathering your biometric and your personal information. The mark of the beast comes last. They'll already have all of this on file to where all they got to do is but all the while working towards that chip or that mark, they've gathered everything else, your fingerprints, your iris scans, your facial recognition, your DNA, all these things. Slowly but surely, they're gathering all these things off of you and putting them in a database. So when you're marked, they have all right. I'm back here, brothers and sisters. Let's pick back up where we left off. Um, it says Morpho Trust has close ties to DHS TSA. If anybody's not familiar with the TSA, it is the organization within the airline industry that is a security. We're going to talk about them more and how this ties directly in with our next article. It says MT is also profiting from TSA's pre-check, as MT claims more than 2 million Americans have signed up to use their program. Morpho Trust is a natural fit to develop NDLs, given the company's history in government biometrics, in particular with its efforts in the TSA's pre-check program. MT also offers transportation worker threat assessments. As I mentioned in Tuesday's story, DHS and the TSA want to install facial biometric body scanners in commuter train stations across the country. Getting the public to accept facial recognition body scanners at airports and Disney World is only part of a much greater privacy nightmare. Okay, these are other articles, excuse me. It says the time to fight for our privacy is now. If we wait any longer, it will be too late. So that's basically what it is that they're doing things slowly but surely to get to their end goal. And it's something we talked about so much on this show, the proverbial frog in the water, that as you bring it to a slow boil, by the time it starts to boil, it doesn't know it's being cooked. That's what this is. They're slowly compiling everything on us as they can before they bring out the end game, which is the mark of the beast. And that's why the scripture says it'll be like a thief in the night. These things, they get bombarded on us out of nowhere. We get blindsided because while we're not paying attention, we're slowly being devoured piece by piece. Right? So, speaking of TSA, this article segues right into our next article here. This also comes off of activistpost.com. This article is titled, let me get it here. LA Metro begins pilot program for full body scanners funded by Bill Gates. August 17, 2017. Right, so we talked about these driver's license, these digital driver's license. Right now, LA Metro has a pilot program for full body scanners. Let's read this here. It says, once again, it appears that airports are a test bed for nearly everything that will eventually trickle out into the general public. Whether it's TSA Viper teams on trains or the emergence of biometric ID, the continuous reinforcement of an imminent and pervasive threat has people scrambling to give up their freedom for their ever-elusive security. So just with what we've read so far, do we see how the previous article is so closely connected and embedded within this one? Both of these are dealing with travel, right? You have the driver's license dealing with the travel that you do in your car. Now you have this dealing with the travel that you do at the airports, right? So these are main areas. All these organizations are connected and working together to bring forth this beast system. And while these things are happening in and around us and we see them and it's just, one day it wasn't there and the next day it is, and we look at it and we're like, we might maybe notice it, maybe we don't. Or we see it and be like, oh, that's cool, that's neat, right? The beast is slowly surrounding us to overtake us with this machinery, with this iron, as the scriptures talk about the iron mingled with the merry clay, right? It says here, although airport body scanners have been much maligned for their negative health effects from millimeter wave technology, as well as their thoroughly intimate invasion of privacy, it's not stopping Los Angeles from rolling out a pilot program of the 60,000 per unit scanners, which began on Wednesday. Subway officials aim to process up to 600 people per hour in the currently voluntary screening. And it always starts voluntary. So they can get it in there and just say, okay, well, it's just voluntary. All they need is the right event or mandatory. And it's already in there. Like they don't have to worry about trying to get it in to then make it mandatory. You're already used to it. You're already used to seeing it. Maybe you've used it. You've seen other people use it. Right? You're familiar and you're comfortable with it to a certain extent. It says here the machines use sensors to scan a person as they walk through, searching for firearms and explosive compounds, said Dave Satoro, a Metro spokesman. Passengers don't need to unload laptops or take off their jackets or shoes as the radio waves scan them to detect anomalies. It is specifically designed to test for mass casualty threats, Satoro said. This technology enables the system to locate on the body where there is a potential threat and it appears on a video screen. Metro is conducting the pilot program to evaluate the accuracy and capacity of the portable machines and determine if the scanners could become permanent fixtures in the LA transit system. And I think it's kind of funny that this guy's name is Satoro, and we have the 44th president whose last name was the same. Yeah, I just thought that was kind of a little funny. But so yeah, looking to do with all of this is to make you think that it's for your safety and security, but it's really an invasion of your privacy. And while your privacy is being invaded, you're going to get a high dose of radiation, which no telling what the long-term effects of that will do to your body. All in the, all in the auspices of safety and security, right? To make you feel safe. That you're flying on an airline that doesn't have any terrorist, potential threats. It says here, this is actually a program that has been ramping up behind the scenes for quite a while. The company supplying the scanners, Evolve, made news nearly 1 year ago when it was revealed that Bill Gates was funding their startup into the scanner space. And it's funny that this guy, Bill Gates, is behind so much of these type of things. Like this guy's everywhere when it comes to this beast tech, and when it comes to death with his vaccination agendas that he's put forth, especially in third world countries and continents like Africa, South America. Right? It says here, as the Guardian reported at the time, it was not only LA that was being zeroed in on. There are other locations we can expect a possible rollout. A startup bankrolled by Bill Gates is about to conduct the first public trials of high-speed body scanners powered by artificial intelligence, the Guardian can reveal. And I just want to interject here, is that's the society they're creating. They're creating a total machine-driven technological society that's totally ran by machines. That's the artificial intelligence. They want everything to be ran with the machines operating within their own mind, right? And then that way they can replace everybody. They don't need people anymore. Either you merge with the machine and the technology, or you are obsolete. You either merge with the Borg, merge with the beast, or you get devoured. I mean, either way you get devoured, but you get devoured up front, and you get discarded if you are not going to merge with the machine. It says, according to documents filed with the U.S. Federal Communications Commission, Boston-based Evolve Technology is planning to test its system at Union Station in Washington, D.C., in Los Angeles Union Station Metro, and at Denver International Airport. Those of us know the things that is going on in Denver International Airport. It says here, Evolve uses the same millimeter wave radio frequencies as the controversial and painfully slow body scanners now found at many airport security checkpoints. However, the new device can complete its scan in a fraction of a second using computer vision and machine learning to spot guns and bombs. Right? It is the speed of the system which is being touted as its greatest asset, and if true, will likely lead to widespread rollout across transportation and other venues. Whereas people are accustomed to hours of travel time surrounding their airline visit, trains, buses, and events need near instantaneous processing to keep people docile enough to tolerate it, right? And notice with their this whole terrorist thing, what they're able to do, and people give little to no pushback. With the whole terrorist thing, they're able to implement this technology in and around our lives to make us think that they're fighting terror and to make us feel more safe. With their terrorist threat, they can now go into countries and start wars, and the whole um, auspices of we're going in to get those terrorists. With this terrorist threat, they can now create false flags and psychological operations within countries to now crack down and on these laws and pass more stricter laws that squeeze you into a corner while they are able to put military on the streets for your protection. All of these things with just the one idea of terrorism, right? And the people will not push back. It says here, it is the speed of the system which is being touted as its greatest asset, and the true will likely lead to widespread rollout across transportation and other venues. Whereas people are accustomed to hours of travel time surrounding their airline visit. Okay, I read that earlier. Excuse me there. And you know what this reminds me of? When I was younger, watched the movie Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger. If anybody remembers that movie at the very beginning, when their people are going to and fro in their transit, they walk through this kind of like similar to this body scanning machine, to where you walk through it and it shows like your skeleton, and it shows like if you have any type of gun or bomb. Of course, growing up, you see those movies and stuff like that, and you think, science fiction and everything, and you just think that that's so far off that you would never see that day. But to see that this is actually the technology that they're using now, and not that they didn't have it then, but the fact that they're putting it into implementation now is just it's almost like you're living in a different world or a different time, like you traveled in time to get to this point. And it's like, man, is this even real? Like, it's so far out that this is what's going on and that what they're doing. It says here, yet another bonus, as the Guardian notes, is the potential integration of biometrics, which, as previously mentioned, is a trend that is gaining traction with new forms of security programs. The scanner also has a camera that takes a photo of each person passing through, enabling facial recognition. So as you go through this scanner, they're also going to take your facial recognition photo and put that in a database. Now they got you in the system, your face, right? It says because it promises to be faster and cheaper than existing millimeter wave scanners, the new device could bring airport-level screening to venues that were previously difficult to secure. The Guardian goes on to highlight a laundry list of potential issues with the new technology arising from the chaos of the real world, such as false positives, potential lack of fine-tuning for sophisticated weapons, and reverse engineering of scanners by terrorists who would know how to conceal dangerous items. Now would be the time for the traveling public to draw a line in the sand while public testing is underway, and a pushback has a chance of being considered. So the author is saying now is the time. If you're going to stand up against this, now is the time to stand up. If you don't say anything now, it's going to be too late. They're going to put this stuff in. Of course, for the most part, a lot of this stuff they will. People are too busy with their lives, too busy, worshiping the technology, praising its convenience and its safety to keep you secure and safe. All right. It says, certainly the mentality of one traveler who was quoted in the most recent announcement is exactly what technocrats and the security industrial complex are looking for. But it certainly should be cringeworthy for anyone who truly values liberty. It says here, I think it is a good idea with everything that has been going on in ISIS, passenger Jasmine Rosales, 29, said. As long as it doesn't take too long, at least you know you can feel safe. So again, you see what they're able to do with just something within this terrorism they've created, this false terrorism, these false cartoon boogeyman groups like ISIS, right, to have people as lemmings, zombies to just accept their demise, accept the beast tech, right, and merge with the Borg. These will be the first people in line breaking down the door to get their mark of the beast so that they can do whatever that they think that it's going to do for them. Continuing on, because we know the mark will not only be in your right hand, but also in your forehead. This goes into our next article. Also on Activist Post. This article, and real quick, before we go to this article, I wanted to mention this, is that they at the beginning of this article, they talked about how the airline industry was seemed to be a test bed for nearly everything that eventually trickles out into the general public. So the airline industry will be one of the first places that you're going to see the mark of the beast for its employees. Because of the fact that this whole so-called terrorism thing, they first have to be able to lock down their employees to say, okay, our employees are secure through this mark, and now you don't have to worry about one of them possibly being a terrorist or anything like that. They're going to use these airline employees, those who fly the planes, those who steward the planes, those who work in the airports. They're going to use them to promote this technology because they're going to be walking around with the mark of the beast saying that, look, I got it. It's okay. You know, look at what you're able to do with it. You can come to the airport. You don't got to worry about pulling your passport out. You know, hey, just walk through, wave your hand, it scans your head, all these things, right? They're using these employees. But the airline industry, because think about it, when you have a wall around America, right, the airline is going to be really one of the only ways out of America is through a airplane, right? So they're going to have to make sure they know who is getting on and off these planes. And without this mark, you're not going to be able to get on a plane, right? So again, we see a lot of stuff happening in these airports and stuff, and you're going to continue to see them just so they can continue to push this technology and bring forth this mark. So the name of the next article, mainstream science now resembles CIA mind control programs to wipe memories. August 19, 2017. Years of research on mice proves that scientists can weaken or strengthen particular memories from the brain or outright delete inherited memories. The Guardian reported, scientists hope that the new discovery could potentially be used to help those with cognitive decline or post-traumatic stress disorder by removing fearful memories. So you see how they promote this. They're using it to help those who have painful memories, post-traumatic stress disorder, cognitive decline, right? That's how they get you to accept it. But that's not what they're creating this for, right? Another movie that comes to mind when I'm thinking about reading this article is a movie called Hardwired with Cuba Gooding Jr., where they put the chip in the back of his head, right? And then he starts, you know, they're able to control his mind now. He starts seeing all of these corporate advertisement holograms popping up and trying to sell him stuff, and you know, they're trying to erase the memories of, you know, of his wife that died, and they're totally trying to control him and create and make him a cyborg and sentinel, right? So this is what this technology is for. These type of things. The mark of the beast in your head will control your mind. Delete your memory so you can't remember the things that were before. Anything that could cause you to snap to and try to break your programming, that chip will be there to keep you in total compliance, right? You had another movie, Manchurian Candidate with Denzel Washington. Same thing. He was in the military. They were doing all of this experimentation on him and his buddies in the military, and they put this chip in him. And this chip is they're trying to, you know, do things to keep him controlled and take those memories away. He's having flashbacks of these memories and, you know, these things that they want to delete those memories. They don't want you to remember nothing that they did to you, the things of the past. They only want you to know what they're telling you and to have one mind with the beast. This is what this article in a nutshell is saying without saying when it comes to what they're doing. It says here, We can use the same approach to selectively manipulate only the pathological fear memory while preserving all other adaptive fear memories which are necessary for our daily lives. Jun Hyung Cho, co author of the research from the University of Cal, said the researchers used those mice to examine the pathways between the amygdala area of the brain, responsible for emotional memories, and the area that produces particular sound. They placed a series of low and high pitched tones that shocked the mice's feet with electrodes on the high pitched sounds. So now they're looking to offer, brothers and sisters, they're looking to offer you the way you were created isn't good enough. The things that you've gone through in life aren't there for your benefit one way or another. Those are things that you should want to forget. So let us play with your mind. Let us, do these things to your being. Basically playing God. It says these mice are special in that we can label or tag specific pathways that convey certain signals to the amygdala so that we can identify which pathways are really modified as the mice learn to fear a particular sound, Cho said. It is like a bundle of phone lines, he added. Each phone line conveys certain auditory information to the amygdala. The team then discovered it was possible to completely erase fearful or unwanted memories using a technique called optogenetics. While medication has been used for this purpose to remove the negative associations of some memories. This technique involves using a virus to introduce genes into particular neurons in the brains of the mice that were involved in the high-pitched pathways. So just listening to this, who would want a virus put into your genes, into the neurons in your brain? Right? I mean, some people, they just have memories that they just don't want to remember, so they'll be all for this. It says once the virus was inside the cells, the genes resulted in the production of proteins which responded to light, allowing researchers to control the activity of the neurons. Taking mice with the fearful memories, the team exposed the neurons involved in the high-pitched pathway to low-frequency light, an approach which weakens the connections between the brain's neuron transmitters. I mean, this is totally playing God here. I mean, like the Creator didn't create us good enough. Like man has to come in now and do these things to us. These mad scientists, right? It says it permanently erases the fear memory. Cho said, we no longer see the relapse of fear, right? So they don't want you to be in fear. They want you to be total, just you have no emotion. When fear is a mechanism that we've been given to help us in situations, the fear of dying. Like if you take the fear away of dying, then you would die. Like you could be in a pool, drowning. And if you have no fear of drowning, then you're going to drown and die, right? So fear is needed in some aspects. Fear the Most High to see the things happening in this world and repent and live righteous because you don't want to die. You see what I'm saying? So, but of course, there's certain types of fear that we shouldn't have, but those are things that we must conquer and combat within ourselves. Right? There's no technology that's the solution to those fears. Those are spiritual things that we must overcome. Right? So it says here, the fact that you can parcel out these memories and manipulate them in a predictable fashion is remarkable. Sumantra Chattarjee, an expert on memory at the National Center for Biological Sciences in Bangalore, India, told New Scientist. So listen to these witches and these wizards, these sorcerers. Listen to how they speak about how this is so remarkable. These mad scientists. This is fascinating that we can do this. Like they're just, and they're called scientists, right? But we know that their science is sorcery, right? So this is their witchcraft. This is no different than a witch with a broom, and she's stirring up a pot of potion. or some type of vexing that she's going to cast on somebody. A wizard with a wand, and he's waving it around and putting people under a spell. That's what this is, sorcery. It says this was impossible a few years ago, but it's possible now, brothers and sisters. Right? This technology is here. And it's not like they're going to show us their full hand. They'll show us bits and pieces, right? They're not going to pull back the curtain until they're ready to pull it back. And once they pull it back, it's going to be too late. We're going to be like, wow, we're just going to get blindsided for those who aren't ready for what they're about to unleash. It says here in another study from 2015, MIT scientists found that in animals that develop PTSD symptoms following chronic stress and the traumatic event, serotonin promoted the process of memory consolidation. Animals did not develop PTSD symptoms, while blocking serotonin in unstressed animals after trauma had no effect. Then earlier this year, scientists from MIT and a team in Japan discovered how memories were formed simultaneously in the hippocampus and the cortex by watching how memories was okay. We're back. So we pick up where we left off here. It says there was a series of CIA mind control programs, including Bluebird, Artichoke, MK Ultra, MK Search, and MK Naomi, during the 50s to 90s. Right. So you have the CIA, and it's been declassified that they've been doing all of this experimentation on these mind control programs. This is without this technology because this is during the 50s to 90s. So they don't have the technology that they have now. So imagine with this technology do to add to all the other stuff they've been doing, right? So the CIA sought to blank slate test subjects, wiping memories through drugs, electric shock, high pitched sound, and other torture techniques. So that's what they used for these programs. Dr. Ewan Cameron was partially backed by the CIA during Project MKUltra and used electrodes to zap the memories from his unwitting patients' brains during the 50s. This method of torture was called psychic driving, right? Psychic driving. After horrendous electric shocks, drugs were given to the test subjects to put them into days of prolonged delirious sleep. They've used their drugs. We know the drugs are pharmakeia, which is sorcery. It says Cameron would then subject them to audio tapes he made in which he repeated certain phrases thousands of times with the hope of producing new personalities within them. New personalities within them. That sounds like demons to me, right? And again, I like talking about these movies because these movies show so much. But a recent movie, Captain America: Civil War. If anybody's seen that movie, this is basically what they did to Winter Soldier, right? Where they would this Cameron guy did audio tapes. He introduced certain phrases thousands of times, right? And he would produce new personalities with these phrases. So it's like when you say these certain phrases in certain sequences, then the person would take on this personality and become this person, right? Through mind control, through programming, through hypnosis, right? Through what he calls psychic driving. Now, Winter Soldier, when he would get these particular phrases mentioned, you could see him just automatically change, and he would become an assassin. And now he was at that person's disposal to be used to go out and kill whoever they need him to kill. Right. So this is a lot of times when you see these rogue guys that doing these rogue things, and we're gonna talk about it. All these articles connect. We're gonna talk about it in the next article. But this is how these things happen. They show it in the movie Jason Bourne and all of those movies. This is the exact same thing that's happening in those movies, right? These super soldiers and these assassins and these trained assets that can go in. They're exposable, expendable assets. Guys that can go in and get the job done and be totally mind controlled doing it. So it says here a 2012 lawsuit filed by veterans groups against the CIA and the DoD refers to Cameron's methods. The suit also states that two researchers, Dr. Lewis West and Dr. Jose Delgado, working together under the early CIA MK Ultra Subproject 95, utilized two protocols: brain implants and RHIC EDM, radiohypnotic intracerebral control electronic dissolution of memory, to program the minds of victims. Wow. There's so much put in this one paragraph. These people filed a lawsuit against the CIA and the Department of Defense. We talked about them looking to implant chips into soldiers, into their brains, right? So again, these government agencies work together. He's talking about their methods, Cameron's methods. CIA MK Ultra Subproject 95 used brain implants, demo sievers. Now check this next one out. RHIC Edom, RHIC dash Edom. We know who Edom is, right? Edom in the Bible. Esau. They have this thing called RHIC Edom. Wow. Edom actually standing for electronic dissolution of memory, to program the minds of victims. Right. This is amazing. And it's like you have a lawsuit. They may win the lawsuit. They may file out of court. Who knows? But you think these programs are going to stop? Like, it's just a lawsuit this guy has against this particular entity. But after he gets paid or whatever happens for his lawsuit or these people's lawsuit, it's not going to stop these programs. These programs continue to go, and they pay the money and keep going. It's just to keep those guys quiet, or that's just, their lawsuit, right? It says here, translation: they sought to bury memories and implant false memories that never happened. So that's what they were doing to these veterans, like your Manchurian candidates, burying memories or deleting memories and implanting false memories that never happened, right? Hardwired. Anybody haven't seen that movie, because that's probably a movie that less people really have know about it. Go and check it out. This is exactly what they were doing in this movie. It's like Satan shows you everything he's doing and is going to do before he does it through his media. Truth in movies, lies in the news. Right? People think it's the other way around. People think the news is real and the movies are fake. No, the movies are true, presented in a certain format, but the news is fake for the most part. The CIA ultimately found that stress and sleep deprivation can make people more susceptible to false memories, as have other researchers. So what they try to do is deprive you of sleep and stress, and give you stress, because that's going to also drive you crazy. Like, if you know how people get frustrated and cranky when they haven't had their sleep, right? So that's part of their sorcery too, is just to keep you sleep deprived. Neuroscientists in France implanted false memories into the brains of sleeping mice in 2015. Using electrodes to directly stimulate and record the activity of nerve cells, they created artificial associative memories that persisted while the animals snoozed, and then influenced their behavior when they finally woke up. MIT scientists also achieved the same result using mice in similar experiment prior in 2013. Meanwhile, Japanese researchers have developed a trick to implant false visions into people's brains, altering the way they experience the world and potentially even the way they think. Wow. It says the gap is decreasing from what covert science knows and what overt science knows, or the clear world and the black budget world of military intelligence minds. So what does Revelation 17 tell us? What verse is it? Let me find it here. Give me one moment. Revelation 17:13, where it says, "These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast." It's talking about the 10 horns. The 10 horns having one mind, giving their power to the beast. But when we read Revelation 13, those that receive the mark in their forehead will have one mind, and they will give their power and strength unto the beast. Because now you are becoming a walking surveillance camera with this technology embedded within you. Because it's not going to just stop with the mark of the beast. There's another movie they put out recently called Ghost in the Shell, where people are so into the tech that they're actually taking parts of their body and replacing them with technology. One guy loses his eyes, so he puts in these machine eyes to where he can see through walls and zoom in, and it's like he has these robotic eyes now, right? So now with this chip, with this mark, you will be able to be used as a surveillance camera to be able to, wherever you go, you're a walking camera, right? You're a walking snitch for Satan. You can go around and see and hear and interact. This is what it is, brothers and sisters. This is what it is. This is where we're at. So this segues us to our next article. This is kind of how it all kind of ties together here in these particular events, to kind of bring it back down to like something that you may see on the news or even experience yourself, and why these events happen. Going back to the Jason Bourne, right, or the those type of events that happen in news. This is on activistpost.com. It says parents catch FBI in plot to force mentally ill son to be a right-wing terrorist, right? And before we go into this article, real quick, something just came back to my memory. We were talking about the last article. I mentioned at the beginning of the show how they had the news piece on Russia Today about those people who are having Trump stress disorder, and going to the psychiatrist with this new disease of being stressed out from Donald Trump and his shenanigans. But could you imagine Obama getting on TV and saying, "Oh, if you're a sufferer from Trump stress disorder, just come, enroll in Obamacare, and come get your memory wiped from Trump. You will never ever remember Trump again. He'll be a thing of the past, and you'll have to worry about those painful, stressful memories of a Donald Trump ever existing, or your doctor telling you the things. Oh, you suffer from stress disorder. Well, we do have this chip that we can give you, and it will wipe your memories from all knowledge of Trump." So it's like these are just things that you got to look at, and sometimes keep your humor with when it comes to all of this, so that you can keep your sanity, because the things are so insane. You gotta sometimes find some humor in all of this. But seriously though, there's definitely some very serious stuff as far as what we're reading about in the times we're in. Catch FBI and plot to force mentally ill son to be a right-wing terrorist. Right. This covers so many aspects of their agenda. Talking about this beast technology, just talked about their mind control and the implanting these chips and being able to control the minds of people. Right. So this fits right into that, and this is how these things happen. August 17th, 2017. It's become a near weekly occurrence. Somewhere in some state, the FBI will announce that they foiled yet another terrorist plot and saved lives. However, as the data shows, the majority of these cases involve psychologically diminished patsies who've been entirely groomed, armed, and entrapped by FBI agents, right? So going back to the last article, that technology that they have, those CIA programs from the 50s to the 90s, can we see the the connection here, or how these events are not real, that these are actually psychological operations, psychologically the diminished patsies that they've groomed, right? That they have chipped, that they can activate at any moment. Simply put, the FBI manufactures terror threats and then takes credit for stopping them. While many of these cases have garnered attention and been exposed in the alternative media, a recent case out of Oklahoma sets a new low for FBI and exposes how insidious these plots can be. Through the hundreds of foiled terror plots the FBI has busted over the years, many of them have been focused on people of Middle Eastern descent or people associated with ISIS or Al Qaeda. This time, in the case of Jerry Drake Varnell, and if anybody is familiar with what Drake is a dragon. It's I'm not sure exactly what language Drake is, but that is a word for dragon. So it's not surprising to me that they chose this guy who has the name Drake, right? The 23-year-old diagnosed schizophrenic, accused of attempting to bomb a bank, the FBI fomented terror from a right-wing dialogue. In a June meeting with the agent, according to FBI documents, Varnell described himself as a believer in three-percenter ideology. A right-wing group claimed to be committed to standing against and exposing corruption and injustice. So look at who they're saying that this guy was with, right? This is who they are targeting. They're slowly but surely pushing these types of bullet points when they do these psychological operations. That this guy was claiming to stand up against corruption and injustice and exposing it. Who does that sound like? That sounds like some people that that we may know who are for truth and looking to stop the things that are being done that are wrong. That could be even talking about any one of us, right? So it says here, according to federal documents, Varnell drove what he believed was a stolen van containing a 1,000-pound ammonium nitrate bomb on Saturday morning to blow up an Oklahoma City bank. Of all places, the place where the Murrah building bombing happened by Timothy McVeigh. It's almost a near identical scenario, right? Except McVeigh blew up a federal building. This guy has a van containing a bomb to blow up a bank. Right? Vile indeed. And you got to ask yourself, why would a guy want to go and blow up a bank? Like, I guess he's trying to get at the bankers. But it says here, however, if we backtrack just a bit to when the FBI began grooming their would-be right-wing terrorists, the vileness comes directly from the government. And showing that this, what we're reading here, proves that this was a FBI orchestrated event. It takes us right back to say, could possibly Timothy McVeigh been an FBI groomed terrorist? Right. So we got to look to try to tie these things together to know that that this isn't something they just started doing. It says here the FBI knew he was schizophrenic. Varnell's parents declared on Wednesday in an open letter bravely published by News OK. Underneath his condition, he is a sweet-hearted person, and we are extremely shocked that this event has happened. However, what truly has us flabbergasted is that the fact that the FBI knew he was schizophrenic, right? These are the guys that they go for. It says the state of Oklahoma found him mentally incompetent, and we, his parents, have legal guardianship over him by the court. These documents are sealed from the public, which is why no news media outlet has been able to obtain them. The FBI clearly knew that he was schizophrenic because they have gathered every ounce of information on him. So these documents are sealed, but the FBI has access, and they gathered every ounce of information they could to let you know that they know. People know. It's their job to know. And they have every gate, every accessible gate to find out about you. There are databases that they've created, the databases that these third-party agencies have created. they've accumulated information on you. They buy and sell your information, right? Now, maybe 50 years ago, a little bit different, a little bit harder to get information on somebody because there weren't these electronic databases that kept all your information on digital file. But now, in this information age, everything is compiled and has been transitioned from paperwork to digital, to being digitized. So they have mass amounts of digital information stored on people. It says here, yet they knowingly continued to groom him despite the clear immoral implications. Right? When they began grooming him, according to the family, the FBI knew that Varnell was declared mentally unfit to live by himself and that he was a paranoid schizophrenic. Without the criminal informant and the FBI tactics playing mind games with this vulnerable man, the idea of him committing an act of terror would have likely never materialized. What the public should be looking at is the fact that the FBI gave our son the means to make this happen. He has no job, no money, no vehicle, and no driver's license due to the fact that he is schizophrenic, and we, his parents, do everything we can possible to keep him safe and functional. He has suffered through countless serious full-blown schizophrenic delusional episodes, and he has been put in numerous mental hospitals since he was 16 years old. The FBI came and picked him up from our home. They gave him a vehicle, gave him a fake bomb, and every means to make this happen, none of which he had access to on his own. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, this guy can't even drive, but yet he drove a van with a bomb in it. Does that make sense? He has no driver's license, no money, no job, no vehicle. He's schizophrenic. Like, who would believe that this guy would I mean, of course, because he's schizophrenic, people would say, okay, well, he's crazy. That's why he did it. So that's where they get you to buy into it. But it says here, the parents noted that during the setup, they suspected something was going on, and Jerry's father told the informant to stay away from their son. However, according to the parents, the informant continued to sneak onto our residence. The FBI paid him to continue this operation, and I believe they have cleared his criminal record. Because they knew Varnell had several mental disabilities, the FBI should have stopped plans to do this and immediately sought an option of hospitalization. However, they pressed on. The FBI should have filed conspiracy on our son and had him committed to a mental institution. They should not have aided and abetted a paranoid schizophrenic to commit this act. There are many more facts that I will report my son and the disturbing acts made by the FBI. I realize that many will say my son could have found another person to commit this act. Yet, any person that has access to the materials and the state of mind necessary to bomb a building not have any need for a schizophrenic who has no resources to contribute. Clifford and Melody Varnell, Jerry's parents, make a powerful point. No one other than the FBI would have attempted to get a schizophrenic man with nothing to contribute to do their bidding, as it would most likely be a futile effort unless you are the FBI looking for an easy patsy to keep fear alive. Right? David Steele, a 20-year-old Marine Corps intelligence officer, the second highest ranking civilian in the U.S. Marine Corps intelligence, and former CIA. Okay, brothers and sisters, we're back, and just want to pick up where we left off. Is a very important point here, right? We're talking about David Steele. He gave a quote, and he is a 20-year Marine Corps, second highest ranking civilian in the U.S. Marine Corps intelligence, and former CIA. Former CIA. We just talked about the CIA in the last article with their MK Ultra mind programming, mind control, right? It says here, this is his quote, most terrorists are false flag terrorists or are created by our own security services. In the United States, every single terrorist incident we have had has been a false flag or has been an informant pushed on by the FBI. In fact, we now have citizens taking out restraining orders against FBI informants that are trying to incite terrorism. We've become a lunatic asylum. And it says here, indeed, we've become a lunatic asylum. So here you have this guy, CIA, Marine Corps intelligence officer, coming out and saying that most terrorists are false flag terrorists. Every single terrorist incident in the U.S. has been a false flag event. Now, that's not us saying it, right? For those people who say that, we say these things all the time, psychological operations and, psyops and false flags. This is a high-ranking Marine Corps officer and former CIA saying this. I think he would know. And with the technology and the other information that we've read and know about, why would it not be that way? Does it only make sense that that's what it would be? Like, people are not this crazy in the world to go out and do these types of things. You had the underwear bomber, tennis shoe bomber. You had the dry ice bomber. You have all these guys who they try to, any chance get to try to get a patsy look like a terrorist, they're going to do it because they can continue pushing that agenda, that war on terror. They can continue to keep pushing these wars. They can continue to, whether it's a war in the Middle East, a war in this country, a war on you, a war on your freedoms and your liberty, a war on your body, with putting out of it, gathering your biometric information, your data. It's a war, nonetheless, right? So reaction, solution, the Hegelian dialectic. These people create the problem, they wait for your reaction, and then they give you the solution. So they cause all of these things, right? The chaos, because through the chaos they can now bring their what they would call order, their peace, safety, and security, which again will be the mark of the beast. Let's go to our last article here, right? A bit away from what we've been talking about, the theme of the show with the beast technology, but it is something that was mentioned at the beginning of the show, and it is very major when it comes to Bible prophecy. One of the major, biggest points, especially when it comes to America and the judgment on America. This article also comes off of the Activist Post, and it is titled, let me get it here, Iran threatens to send warships to Atlantic and ramp up nuclear activities if U.S. continues sanctions. At the beginning, America has now passed sanctions against Iran. This is Iran's response. The Medes are being stirred up. August 15, 2017, it says, amid Americans' concerns that North Korea threatened to launch a missile at Guam, Iran is planning on building up a flotilla of warships in the Atlantic Ocean. Right? While Iranian leader Hassan Rouhani has threatened to revitalize the country's nuclear program if the U.S. continues threats and sanctions. So that agreement that was created under Obama to be broken under Trump, to go against the Iranians. So they would feel like they've been double-crossed, bringing about war. And Iran doesn't have to have nuclear missiles that can be launched from its country. They have warships. They have submarines, right? So if they have warships in the Atlantic Ocean, these warships can then shoot missiles on the shores of America. Everybody's worried about North Korea. It says here, if Washington continues with threats and sanctions against Iran, Tehran could easily ramp up its nuclear activities, Rouhani said in an Iranian parliament, AP reported. In an hour and a day, Iran could return to a more advanced nuclear level than at the beginning of the negotiations. The U.S. has shown that it is neither a good partner nor a trustable negotiator, Rouhani added. Now, isn't that interesting? I mean, that sounds very similar to what the Native Americans, whom we know are the tribe of Gad, said, which I believe broke every peace treaty that they signed with Gad, every single agreement. And now Iran is getting their taste of this negotiations with dealing with. All right, brothers and sisters, we're back. Um, just want to pick up where we left off here. It says Iranian lawmakers reportedly shouted death to America as they passed a bill to increase military spending. So, as I was saying, that Iran is not the only to scream death to America. You're having more and more countries that are joining in with these anti-American sentiments. I've just seen a recent video in Chile. You had protesters in the streets burning American flags and screaming death to America. Right. So America has infuriated the whole world, and Iran is going to lead this charge to destroy. The Persians are going to lead this charge to destroy modern day Babylon. It says the legislation also imposes sanctions on U.S. military officials who are in the region. Meanwhile, after the announcement of a massive $500 million investment in war spending, Iran has planned to send flotilla of warships to the Atlantic Ocean in response to the U.S. proposed sanctions against the country. No military official in the world thought that we could go around Africa to the Atlantic Ocean through the Suez Canal, but we did it as we had declared that we would go to the Atlantic Ocean waters. Iranian Navy Commander Rear Admiral Habibullah Sayari said. Right, so Iran has made its way into the Atlantic, America's backyard. This comes amid previous weeks of several tense interplays where Iranian military ships have carried out a series of dangerous drills near U.S. ships. Just last Monday, U.S. military officials reported another unsafe encounter with an Iranian drone that was following a U.S. carrier in the Persian Gulf that allegedly came close enough to an American F-18 jet to risk the pilot's life. In early August, U.S. President Donald Trump signed into law new sanctions on Iran, Russia, and North Korea, passed by the U.S. Congress. Iran has maintained the new U.S. sanctions amount to a hostile breach of the 2015 nuclear deal. U.S. President Donald Trump has stated several times that the Iran deal was a bad deal and continues looking into ways to repeal the deal. The Iran deal was done by Obama, the Obamacare, health care done by Obama, Trump looking to repeal. All these things Obama has done, right? This is just to cause, again, Obama and Trump are on the same team. This is to cause this is for their narrative to sell to the world and the American people. It says, meanwhile, Iran has just threatened Trump, saying that they will abandon its nuclear agreement with world powers within hours if the U.S. imposes any more new sanctions, Reuters reported. If America wants to go back to the experience of imposing sanctions, Iran would certainly return in a short time, not a week or a month, but within hours to conditions more advanced than before the start of negotiations, Rouhani told a session of Parliament broadcast live on state TV. The world has clearly seen that under Trump, America has ignored international agreements and, let me read that again, the world has clearly seen that under Trump, America has ignored international agreements and, in addition to undermining the nuclear deal, has broken its word on the Paris Agreement and the Cuba Accord, and that the U.S. is not a good partner or a reliable negotiator, Rouhani added. So you see how all right, brothers and sisters, not sure where we got cut off at, but I just wanted to say the very end part of this article, it says the world has clearly seen that under Trump, America has ignored international agreements and in addition to undermining the nuclear deal, has broken its word on the Paris Agreement and the Cuba Accord, and that the U.S. is not a good partner or a reliable negotiator, Rouhani added. So again, America is going against a lot of countries, and breaking everything under Trump. Another U.S. president and just more geopolitical wars mounting up. Nothing ever seems to change, even though all presidents seem to campaign on ending wars. So that's exactly what this is. You have Obama come out, said he was going to end the wars. He only caused more wars. You had Trump come out in his campaign and say he was going to end the wars and not be the world's policeman. Under him, only more wars and rumors of wars. So it's like, when will people get it, right? That these presidents are all Freemasons. They're all in the same group, right? They're in the same circles, and they all have the same agendas. And right now, we are dangerously close, brothers and sisters, to things really going into what the scriptures, when the prophet says, "Woe is me, woe is me." At any moment, especially with what they've created under Trump, it could all just go. It could all hit the fan under Trump, and especially with everything that's on the table right now with North Korea, Iran, Venezuela, Russia. The economy, natural disasters. This mark of the beast, tech. I mean, you name it. It's the race baiting and the incited race riots and wars that they're stirring up in America. I mean, they really have the pot stirred up right now when it comes to things. And if you are not on your P's and Q's spiritually, when it's all said and done, you're gonna get swallowed up. That's just bottom line. So everybody has their chance now to put forth the effort to, be what they need to be spiritually. Do the works, the spiritual works of righteousness that you can do now while the time is here to do them. Hey, again, the choice is ours. So, but that's it on tonight's segment one. I do apologize to y'all for the constant disconnections. It's something that's out of my control. But maybe it's a sign that hey, again, we told people years ago these particular platforms aren't always going to be here for you to listen to. We know that you enjoy it. We enjoy it, doing them. But we're in a time to where if you want to continue to stay linked into this type of technology, it's gonna come with a price of your soul. So let's not be too connected to this technology. Let's be more connected to the earth. I want to let everybody know out there that are in the Gulf, the Gulf of Mexico area, Texas, Louisiana, where the hurricane, I think it's called Harvey, is going on right now. We want to tell those brothers and sisters there to to make provisions and to get yourself in a place of security, because they said that this hurricane is supposed to be pretty bad. And the rest of y'all who maybe not be in this area, you could just say your prayers for those that are there, that they are protected. We are going into hurricane season, so with everything else that's going on, just be expecting to see these things happen to add to everything else. I did mention the natural disasters earlier, so just you get ready for them. Like, they're going to happen, and they're going to use these events to showcase and cause more division and have Trump be ridiculed more as far as his response to these events when they happen and all of that. Is just tell brothers and sisters, don't get caught up in this matrix. Don't get caught up in the illusion and the emotions of things that's going on. Stay spiritually at peace in these scriptures, right? When Yeshua returns, when Christ comes back, he's coming for those who are the peacemakers, those who are looking to be in peace, right? So we're going to take a break, and we come back. We'll try to take some calls. 20 minutes left until overtime, so we'll try this technical issue that's been happening on my end to try to take some calls. So if you would like to speak, you have any questions, comments, any news you'd like to bring out that we didn't go over, you can give us a call. The guest caller number 515-605-9327. You can press the the number 1 on your dial pad. That'll put you in the guest call queue. And when we come back, we will take your call. Again, you are listening to Friday Night Sabbath coming out of Babylon on Blog Talk Radio for the Gathering of Christ Church, and we will be right back.
You have a talent, a company, or a service to render?